All right, let's cross live to London and join Peter Tatchell, a human rights activist, joining us here on the programme. Good to see you today, Peter. So Ecuador makes the announcement today, or should I say the Ecuadorian leader makes the announcement where he is in London, where you are now, saying that eventually Julian Assange will have to leave its embassy in London. Has it had a change of heart? Why do you think Ecuador is now changing its position?
Well, the simple answer is we don't know, but clearly pressure has been brought to bear, presumably by the United States. Possibly some trade or aid deal, who knows? But what we do know for certain is that the first duty of any state is to protect the life and liberty of its citizens. Julian Assange was granted Ecuadorian citizenship. He was granted political asylum. So for the prospect of the president revoking those protections that go with citizenship and asylum, that's a very, very big deal, a very big step to abrogate the right to protect an Ecuadorian citizen and effectively, if he is forced out of the London embassy, effectively to hand him to a foreign power. Now, when it comes to what will happen if Assange is forced out of the embassy, I really think the ball is in the British government's court. It could come to an agreement. Yes, Julian Assange did skip bail, that's true, and under the law he has to pay a penalty. But the British government could decide that will be a swift and nominal penalty, as would often be the case in these instances. But the big, really important thing is for the British government to give an assurance that he will not be extradited to the United States, where we know that a secret grand jury has been convened and where he's likely to face very serious charges which in all probability will end him up in prison perhaps for 30 or 40 years. I don't think a whistleblower, or well actually Julian Assange is not actually a whistleblower, he's a publisher. He published what others blew the whistle on, and I don't think someone who is concerned about freedom of information, the right of the public to know, someone who's published that information in the same way that the New York Times or the Guardian has published information, I don't think they should face the risk of 30 or 40 years in jail in the United States.
Yeah, Peter, what does it mean? What does it mean, you know, regarding your last comment there? What does it mean about the freedom of speech, for example? What about unveiling and lifting the lid on covert operations around the world? Why has Assange been vilified so badly by members of, well, the Western hierarchy and establishment?
Well, clearly by publishing leaks provided by Chelsea Manning and others, WikiLeaks, Julian Assange being the key person in WikiLeaks has deeply embarrassed, in particular, the government of the United States, exposing war crimes, human rights abuses, double standards in terms of diplomacy and private conversations and exchanges between diplomats which stand in complete contrast to what the US was saying publicly. So it's all about Julian Assange caused great embarrassment, and the US wants revenge, not just on him personally, but also as a deterrent to others. And I think that whistleblowers and publishers who shine a light on government deception and government abuses, they are public servants of the highest order. They deserve protection, not persecution. And the tragic fact is that if Julian Assange and WikiLeaks had not published that information, we, the public, would not have known about those war crimes and crimes against humanity.
So, Peter, do you think it's a good service, a good thing that Assange has done to enlighten the public to know about some of these aspects of foreign policy?
Absolutely. I mean, the United States is founded on the principle of government of the people, for the people, by the people. That the people have a right to know that the government is the servant of the people. The government was not serving the people by keeping these war crimes and deceptions secret. It was speaking in public, saying one thing, and in private doing something different. I think that anybody, Julian Assange or anyone who shines a light on that, is doing a great public service. They are a hero of freedom of expression and the right to know, which is, to me, a fundamental element of a democratic society. If the people do not know what governments and militaries are doing in their name, it is not a democracy. And thanks to Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, we do know quite a lot of what the US government and military wanted to keep hidden. They are heroes.
Now, a few moments ago, Peter, you said that Julian Assange has embarrassed the US government. I've heard US officials, senators and congressmen calling him a traitor, accusing him of treason. One pundit on Fox News calling for Julian Assange to be shot, to be assassinated. We've seen the anti-Assange movement among the Western governments, but also we've seen a huge amount of public support for him from the basic, average, ordinary person. What do you expect in response now to Assange's possible fate? Are you expecting widespread public protests, or are the people going to stay quiet?
I think it's very hard to say. I mean, obviously, Julian Assange's reputation has been trashed by the United States government and others, and a lot of people, perhaps who did initially support him, feel that there may be something in these allegations. Certainly the allegations of sexual assault in Sweden did severely diminish the level of public support. Now, of course, we know those charges were never actually pressed. There were no charges ever pressed against Julian Assange on sexual assault. The investigation has long been dropped. So whatever one thinks about that particular allegation, and it is purely an allegation, I think that should be set aside. I always said that Julian Assange should face those allegations, should answer them. He was always willing to. In fact, way back from 2011, he offered to make himself available to the Swedish prosecutors. They took, I think, 5 or more years to eventually come to London to interview him, and as a consequence of those interviews, decided not to proceed with the case. So, it is a murky case that has been clouded by these allegations, and they are purely allegations, I stress, of sexual assault. So in terms of public support, I'm hoping that people will see the big picture, which is not to diminish the allegations of sexual assault in any way, but they will see the big picture that in this particular instance, Julian Assange is facing very serious charges for publishing information that we, the public, have a right to know about government abuses and military abuses. He should be judged on that, and on that basis he should be given support, even if people have disagreements or reservations about the sexual assault allegations.
Human rights activist Peter Tatchell joining us live here on this breaking news regarding Julian Assange. Many thanks. Appreciate that. Thank you.